Well, hello.
Hello. Hello. How nice to be here with you again. Thanks for inviting me to do a little dive into some automatic drawing, Chantel. And thanks for coming along, Noni. I think we'll have some fun.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
I brought some supplies.
Great.
Charcoal, square. I have options, so it'd be good if you give me some pointers here.
Okay, all right.
I bought charcoal. I have some kind of pencil version of a medium.
Oh, me too. I got
that. I've got this round number.
So my absolute favourite for automatic drawing is just fresh willow charcoal, just non-compressed willow charcoal. And this is some lovely willow charcoal that I made myself.
Oh, nice.
Really like making enough willow charcoal each spring to last the whole year.
What if we don't have a willow nearby? Is that something that you would prefer, willow over any other tree, or have we got a tree maybe that up north here would do the trick?
Probably any fast growing tree would probably work well. Willow works because there's quite a distance between the nodes, and the nodes make hard bits. And in the springtime, it's really easy to pull off the bark and the cambium layer. So any tree that you can pull off the bark and that green layer and separate the inner white wood easily will likely work well. But you can use anything. It just means it might be a bit scratchier. And the willow charcoal, look at that, it's really nice and smooth. Doesn't make any sound.
Like a good whiskey. I love it.
Oh, listen to that. Yeah, I'm not sure.
So
different, very different.
We're getting into the what or the what with, but we're going to what is automatic drawing? And Chantel, I think you really liked the little automatic drawing segment we did in our last big workshop, and you wanted to do a little bit more of that, which is awesome because I love automatic drawing and I could talk all day about it. I think that it should be a part of every artist's weekly, if not daily practice, because it helps to loosen us up, helps to get us really free and unafraid of making any mark on the paper. And that's really essential to get away from the fear of making a mistake, because we can't be a clear conduit of what's trying to come out of our psyche if we have any resistance at all. Like if there's any block to the flow from like within out, we're not going to get a clear message. So particularly with the sort of artwork that we do, which is more of a communication with self and inner wisdom, and we really want to have as an unhindered flow as possible. So the automatic drawing is really, really wonderful for helping to get us practiced at just letting whatever wants to come out, both in the mark making and in the conversion of that mark making into images and visuals on an internal level. So we're practicing, what do we see in here? What shapes do we see in our piece, in a way that's not confronting, because it's just a piece of paper that we're likely to throw away.
Yeah, I love that. And I did really love how it was so freeing, right? That it was just like, and that we could just bring our body movement into it as well, and just like, how does my hand want to move right now? I'm just going to go with that and roll with that and see what comes out. And then it's reminding me as well that I'm taking a few moments, at least while I'm doing this exercise, that I don't have to judge what's coming out. I can give all that a rest, let the judge sit down on the couch, give it some chocolate, whatever, and then I can go for it over here and just see, wow, what comes out unknown on the page was starting with a blank page, a blank slate, what could come out there.
Yeah. And sometimes that movement, just moving the charcoal on the page with your eyes closed, is healing enough. It's just like just allowing yourself to see what movement your body wants to make can feel wonderful. And like sometimes we might have some tight or some tense bits, but if you stick with that, it changes and give it expression. After a while, you notice that it starts to change form. Which is really exciting. It's like that you've given a voice to that stuck energy and it's starting to move into something else. Sometimes we don't even need to, I was going to say anthropomorphize, but it's not quite the right word, but, we don't have to give it meaning. Sometimes just the act of the doing and not turning it into anything is enough. But when we take it that next step, and we start to interpret and use our own visual library of images to create symbols out of the patterns that we've drawn, we can start to open up a dialogue with this level of wisdom that we very rarely tap into in our lives in this modern Western world, which is a real shame because it is a magical world full of the most amazing places and riches and wisdom. And I think people would be a whole lot happier if they were tapping into that place on a regular basis.
And it's limitless, right? It's just limitless, the possibilities.
Yeah.
Like what I had in there. Yeah, I was I guess you're stepping into a space of possibility just by participation, aren't you? And so my experience was when I opened my eyes, I was presented with something that was there was this element of unknown, and then it was just engaging with that without conditioned ideas of what it was I was trying to form. I was just presented with something. It was just there. And so there's probably many different ways I could have interpreted it, but in that moment, you just engage with whatever it is that you see without judgment. And I think that's a wonderful practice to do daily. It kind of reminds me of timelines, when you're young and you have all of these future things that you could do. And then as you get older, you feel like you've only had one destiny and one path, and really it's only when you look at those other dimensions, you kind of look back and then look forward, that you realize, well, actually there was many, many different paths. And I think, it reminds me of that a little for some reason.
Yeah. Well, I think that like what you're touching on there is something that I've only just been able to really articulate quite recently, which is that our work as artists with intention is opening up doorways into the imaginal realm. And the imaginal realm is a very real place that has been accessed for thousands of years by medicine people, or what we now know as shamans, but artists and people going through spiritual awakenings and trance states, and all of these different things are all working to enter this other world that has been a little bit difficult to quantify or to describe. But I have become really aware that this realm is actually, it's becoming more easy to access with language. That language is coming that world is coming closer, and the language to actually describe it is much more available to a much wider group of people, which is so exciting, because the healing and the transformation that can happen through that imaginal realm is endless and epic, and it's really what's going to save us.
Wow. It's incredible stuff, right? So
I'm wondering every day then. Every day.
So, yeah. No, it's like, right, so yeah, we've got the charcoal, we've got a bit of paper, and we're off to save the world. Like,
Yes.
diving into the imaginal realm on a daily basis. Yeah. But it's so funny. It's because it's so simple and it's so like mind-blowing at the same time. So, and it's important to have fun with it, but it's also important to try to speak to what it actually gives us. And I think for over 25 years I've struggled with the language, but I feel like finally I'm starting to be able to grasp the language to convey those experiences to other people, which is very exciting for me.
It's huge.
Noni, going back to a really, really practical thing you were talking about, it's tricky to get large bits of paper in your rural location.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you?
Well, I managed to get butcher's paper and just on a roll. So
yeah, great,
nice.
Fish and chip shops are also good to hit up. If you most little country towns have got fish and chip shop, so you can go and offer them, like, say, I'll have $1 worth of paper, thanks.
Minus the grease.
But yes, I have minimum chip, and if they won't sell you the paper, just ask for minimum chips without the chips. Just like okay, all right. So we've got our paper. Ideally, it's on an easel. And actually, for automatic drawing, I actually prefer just a cheap easel. My cheaper easel is my preferred easel for automatic drawing because I can stand on the base, so I can push really hard on the easel and it's not going to go anywhere. And I don't have enough space for a really big, heavy studio easel. And I've just got my paper bulldog clipped to a painting board, my compost canvas underneath. And ideally, you want to have your paper set up so when you stretch your arm out, mine's actually probably a bit high, when you stretch your arm out from your shoulder, it's going like to the middle of the canvas.
As first time.
Beautiful. I can drop mine down for you. I was obviously feeling like I was taller when I was testing before. All right. And so people have asked me before whether or not they can draw to music. And it's a bit of a yes and no. It's like if you draw to music, you're going to be influenced by whatever you're listening to. So you're going to get some of the information is going to be coming through the other person's psyche as well as your own. So probably best to start the practice without music so that you're getting just your own. However, if you're feeling really still quite restricted and you can't get into the freedom of the movement in the silence, then by all means put on some music that helps you just to get free and into your body. And then it's really just as simple as turning to your paper, closing your eyes, taking a breath to center yourself, and then just letting your hand move and letting your whole body move your hand. So you're really sort of feeling into your hips and your legs and your spine and your shoulders. And you're just enjoying yourself and you're just allowing yourself to move in any way that any part of you feels like it wants to move. That's why having something really smooth that glides on the page is really nice, because it you're not being hindered by a pencil digging or something scratching or something not wanting to turn this way or that. And a decent sized piece of charcoal will usually last the whole time, but sometimes you need two. So let's just go for it, unless you guys have got any questions before we...
Bianca, I wanted to know, does it matter whether you use your dominant or non-dominant hand, or do you have a recommendation for that?
I have a very dominant hand. So I tend to automatically just do that. I don't know that I've ever experimented with using my non-dominant hand with this. With other drawing I have, and it's actually fabulous. I really like it. But I think that if you are pondering about that, Chantel, I would say try your non-dominant hand.
I think I'm going for it with that one, yeah, because my charcoal's already in my non-dominant hand.
Fantastic.
So I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, awesome. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make marks on the paper, however your hand, whichever hand it is, wants to move, until you feel like you've come to some sort of completion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually between 2 and 5 minutes. Sometimes it can be as short as 30 seconds. Sometimes it can be longer. Sometimes you just don't want to stop. And that's fine too.
And should we keep our charcoal in contact with the paper the whole time, or is it okay to like?
It's okay to lift it off, but more flow. Like having a good amount of contact is good, but there's no rules. So if it wants to come off and move, that's totally fine.
Sounds good.
And what then we're going to do when we're finished, I have to give you this part before we go because otherwise you won't know what to do. When you feel like you've come to that completion, just standing there in front of your canvas with your eye or your paper with your eyes still closed again, just take a breath, center yourself, and then whatever that means to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then open your eyes. And as soon as you open your eyes, allow that symbolic part of your brain to start to pick out images in the scribbles, just whatever you see. And sometimes it can be a really fleeting thing. Okay. So like less than a second, you'll see a symbol in there and then it will be gone. This is something that we can practice, and we get better at seeing the symbols and better at holding the symbols. But to start with, as soon as you start to see that symbol, take your charcoal and start to mark it out. Just start to draw over and emphasize that part that was that symbol. Because often if you blink or turn away or think a thought, you will lose that image that was starting to come out of the chaos.
All right.
You might
question.
Yeah.
That. So as soon as you see something and you don't want to look away, or are you saying reinforce that image with the charcoal? So we're not moving it to a different color at that point, we're just reinforcing it.
If you feel like you can see it and you can turn away, you can, but I would reinforce it first. It may call a color to you, but reinforce it first and then go to the color, because sometimes if you turn to the color and you come back and go, where was that? I have no idea what I just saw. Yeah. So reinforce it first. And then it might have a color. It might be calling for a color for you. So then you can go and use, I like to use soft pastels, and I have a nice set of student soft pastels that I don't mind just scrawling all over my paper with. And as you're adding that color in, you might get a dialogue or words or a phrase that comes to your mind as you're doing that. Just write that down as it comes, just anywhere around the paper. Usually it's not too long, but if you feel like you need to sit down and write something else, you can, because anything's possible here. You might sit down and find you have a A4 page of writing that just has come out from wherever. And that's the really exciting thing here. We're opening a doorway into our inner wisdom, and we don't know what's going to come out. But it's always rich, and it's always beautiful. So I've never experienced it not to be poetic once we allow ourselves to let go of the gates, that sensory gating. We're so used to gating and closing off that flow of information in our everyday life. We shut that down. Myself, I am quite practiced in allowing the information through, but I have a lot of gating around the language that I use to describe it, because I have found that you know, my challenge is around allowing that flow to describe what I see. So I don't necessarily have so much of a problem with the words that come onto the page or the images that are coming out, but actually verbalizing the language and verbalizing those things as I'm witnessing them. I have a lot of gating around that. And so this is a process too where you can have a look at where your own restrictions are, where you're putting barriers to the flow of that wisdom that you carry within you. And yeah, but that's enough talking. Let's get to our actual doing. All righty. Okay, so just taking a little breath. You can shake your shoulders, you can wiggle your hips, whatever you want to do just to get yourself ready. Take a breath, put your implement to your paper and just start going. And maybe, guys, just so that I know when you're done, you could just sing out or tap the desk or do something just so that I know when you guys are done. Sure. Let's just go.
Interesting.
How did you go, Noni?
I've just reinforced. I haven't introduced any colour. Yes, I'm keen to. So I just sort of shout out, say that's where I'm at.
Yeah, cool.
And keep going.
Yeah, go. How are you going, Chantel?
Yeah, I'm also just reinforcing the shapes that are standing out to me the most.
Excellent. Well, I just so enjoyed the movement then. I could have just kept going until my page was black.
Yeah, me too. I actively stopped myself.
I actively stopped myself as well. I'm like, oh, next time I might have to do a timer for these recorded sessions. It's different when we're just doing our own personal private practice. But I was like, oh, it's like,
could incorporate a qigong session with it, or
yes,
you know that the flowing of the energy, the same sort of concept, but incorporate a creative process.
Yeah, that sounds fabulous.
I was surprised at the at emotion that welled up in me, especially when I started. Maybe to do with actually taking those first few moments to go, we're just here and all we're doing is this. And there's nothing else to think about right now other than focusing here.
Lovely. I always find myself a little on the spot when I'm going to, I'm like, well, you've just said that you're always going to find something. I'm like, am I going to find something there today?
Right.
Especially when it's chaotic, but it's really interesting. Mine was just a really little symbol that I pulled out today. But it was interesting, the thoughts coming when I'm like, there was a lot of thoughts that were trying to get in whilst I was moving my hand today about what's it going to look like. Like usually I don't have that, but today, because I knew that we were doing it like this, I was contemplating what it might. I had no idea what it was going to look like, but you know, the best of in that. But what came forward for me was very pertinent to our discussion beforehand.
Possibilities, or
flower of life in the chaos. Just the little flower of life in all of that, and that's really all I saw instantly. And then for the purposes of this, I pulled out a couple of other symbols that I could see, but realistically, if I was doing it for myself, I would have just done just that flower of life in the chaos and moved on to the next one. And often you'll find that I really love to do them as a series of at least 3. Just to get yourself warmed up and just not putting any attachment to the outcome. So I'm like, yep, I got the flower of life. That's great. Let's move on. That means nothing. And you might find that you do 20 of them and they're like, oh yeah. But then a theme is starting to come out in that. And then you get one that you're like, oh, that's it. And it's everything has coalesced into a symbol that is really resonating with you on a really deep level.
Right. So are we doing a second one today, or are we?
Well, we can.
Well, I'm kind of curious about doing a second one now, to be honest.
You're going to do it with your other hand?
Yes, now I could do the dominant hand.
Yeah. What about you? Did you have any, you had some colours come forward, Noni. Did you have any words or any?
I've gone into the nether. I've gone out beyond consciousness, perhaps. I've just, when you have a sleep with no dreams.
Yeah.
Yes. But I have every intention now of just being for a moment and just having a step back, because I've followed the where the intuitive tug was, without giving definition.
Yeah,
So I might just have a moment.
That's all. And as I said, you know, we were being actually a little bit more challenged to be completely free, being that we are here with the entire world.
Yeah. Hello, world.
Are we?
Aren't we? So far in that first one, I picked out a basket is the shape that I pulled out. So I'm quite curious to continue on a second one and just see, because it's just a basket, but I have no further meaning or message with it.
Lovely. All right. So Noni, you can use you can tear off another sheet, or you can use the back of that one, or you can just. I like to often have at least 3 to 5 sheets just set up on my easel, so I can just go easily to a next.
Well, next time I'm in a city centre, I will hunt down a multi-pad type, you know, one of the ones where we, I don't know what you call them.
Like a flip chart.
Yes, that's it.
You can order fish and chip shop paper online. Relatively.
That's true.
Yeah, I have looked at that before for classes, but usually you have to order like a really big pack, so you might just go off.
This feels like it has the ease of a swan.
Yes.
The, and the gentleness, like the unassuming nature that animals have, just that kind of freedom. Yeah, very
From what I can see here, which is only part of it because it's been covered. No, it's not you. It's my thumbnails that are covering it. It reminds me of a selkie.
Oh, yeah.
Got that.
Yeah. I found this. There's two things going on here. Yeah. I won't go down the rabbit hole on YouTube Live. I hope everyone that's watching isn't offended. That's just how I feel right now. As much as I want to show up in my own authenticity, we all have layers of complexity that we're figuring out. Like we've all got that humanist aspect of our own journey going on, and I've got mine happening there. All right.
Oh, alrighty. Shall we? Hang on. I'll put a timer on for this one.
Okay.
Should I put 2 minutes?
Yeah.
3, 2, 2. I'll put 2.
Right.
See you in 2 minutes. with the 2 minutes.
All right.
Mm. How did you guys go with that one?
Bit more in the groove
Mm.
in terms of message, like language.
Lovely.
Yes.
Cool.
Or perhaps language I'm willing to share. Let's be honest here.
Yes.
Dialogue. Ooh.
Yeah. Lovely. Cool. Would you like to share?
So this was very much life going in any direction. Yeah. And taking the lid off and just letting it stream just to any height without perceived limitations or expectations or all of those sorts of just, it's that, again, it comes back to the allowing. And I guess this process opens up trust, so that, you know, it's a practice, isn't it? So we get to just trust that nothing's, it's a bit like when you meditate, if you go and lie on a bed and you put a blanket over yourself, the blanket gives you a bit of safety, and the bed takes away that feeling of you might fall, you know, it's that cocoon. And so practicing this, well, you're doing something that's expressive and creative, and oh look, nothing bad happened to me. Yeah, it is that trust is on what I'm talking about, if I was going to articulate.
Awesome. That's beautiful. Thanks, Noni.
Yeah, I love that.
What about you, Chantel? How did you go?
Yeah, I'm just gonna switch back for a moment to the second drawing. So yeah, it was a lot more, as Noni said, more on the groove. It's much more freer to do this one, and there's even more movement, and my hand moved quicker, and it just felt more into it. So I think I needed the first one as a warm up.
Yeah.
And then getting into this one, I really noticed a difference with how much I filled up, even though it was only 2 minutes as well, right? Which isn't very long.
I actually had to stop 30 seconds early. I did whisper to the camera, I stopped early, because otherwise I would have been just faking it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great example of listening in, isn't it?
Yeah.
And checking, what is it? Where is that stop for me?
Yeah.
So I had these kind of shapes come out, like butterfly-like, and a figure, and lots of kind of waves and energy flow and that kind of thing. And then I had some words come out this time as well. What mysteries evolve and dance in the density. More of an inquiry, really.
Yeah, but lovely. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. That makes me very excited. I had a very interesting little creature visit me with this little pixie that's like riding or like on this weird mechanical like machine that's kind of like part machine, part flower in this bubble that's moved. It was very odd. There was a very unexpected arrival to my paper, but yes, it was. They were.
Feels like a very elemental creature from the garden. You know, we've got the pixies and the unseen that can tend if you invite them in, as long as you agree that you'll continue to attend that garden if they do take care of it. You know that so you develop that relationship. But yes.
Yeah, it was in there with these little levers and the flippers. It was very, very interesting to see.
Very active, a lot of movement.
Yeah. And I was really knew that once this happened, I did not want to draw in that circle. Like I felt the circle go round, and then I was not allowed to touch that part anymore. So I scribbled around up here, and then I'm like, I'll go down here, and then I'm like, oh, I know that I'm going to draw in that circle if I don't just stop now, and I was not allowed to draw in there. Yeah. So I guess that whole thing about listening, like sometimes we just want to keep going until the whole page is black, and maybe then the symbol is coming out of the negative space rather than the lines. And at other times there's, we might only draw for 30 seconds and that's it, because we've really just the symbol that wants to come out has come out just straight away in those few lines that we've drawn. So really, really listening to that inner guidance and that inner knowing.
Yeah.
You know, when I first looked at this from a symbology standpoint, asked, well, what is this? And it's an urn. So yeah. Yes. So, and you two know what I'm talking about, but yes, I lost my puppy dog, 14-year-old puppy dog. So yeah, that's what this symbol is like, letting go. And life can just stream in any direction. So I was being, I guess, a little bit what do you call it? Mysterious with my wedding, but yes, holding back. So there we go. I'll just share it with the world rather than just be vague. That's what I have here. So it's a very personal experience, very recent and fresh, and very wonderful. So thank you, Bianca. It's really, really gorgeous. Wow. Yeah. It's medicine. It was medicine for me today. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Noni. That's very brave. Like, we have to be brave to do this. It seems really simple, but we do have to be brave and allow whatever comes up for whatever our medicine is for that time, because sometimes it can be intense, and sometimes it can trigger other emotions to come up, but if we do allow ourselves to be brave, it is healing. It's what we need to see and to process and to witness.
Yeah. I'm really hearing right now how valuable this could be in terms of asking those questions and developing a dialogue with self, where we don't have a lot of opportunities. We seem to be half crazy if we're walking around the house talking out loud to ourselves. So this is almost like it gives you a permission slip to have a good chat, because when I saw this, I thought, oh, what is this? Like, is this going to be a cup of coffee with some steam coming out, And I literally had to ask the question. And it is that dialogue being opened up that it's almost it gives us that pathway to expansion, to awareness, wisdom, as you talked earlier, that access. Yeah, so love it.
Yeah, really. And like you say, so simple, yet so incredibly powerful, and it's going to be different every time as well.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, you could try it, right, and share with us next time. Try again tomorrow. What shows up tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad that that you invited me to share this a bit more, Chantel, because it's been wonderful to do that. And I look forward to doing some more together in the future, and maybe with some other people too.
Yeah, and it's beautiful to go on deeper today, to spend more time with that process as its own standalone process. Yeah. So thank you so much for showing us and guiding us through it as well, and answering all the questions. And I hope you all have a go as well, and see what happens, see what comes out on the page.
Yeah, and if you do have a go, share with us if you feel brave enough. It can be a good experience. Just going, I'm just going to share, even if it's just
we have a special place too, don't we, in our Discord. Do we have that linked on our YouTube?
We do. Yeah.
So if you find that link and follow it to our, I guess, community space, and then there are many different channels, and there's places where you can share artwork, ask questions, meet people, have that experience in a more intimate space, if you know what I mean, rather than in the YouTube comments. But you're welcome to use the YouTube comments. Go for it.
Wherever you feel called.
Yeah.
Go with that.
Awesome.
Wow. Well, thank you so much.
Thank until next time.
Yes.
We have another 4-hour workshop coming up in a couple of weeks, towards the end of July.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do. Do we want to do a
Ooh,
little spoiler?
do we want to? Yeah, go on, reveal it.
Yeah.
Exciting. Yeah.
Well, we could just reveal the title. At this point, the working title is, drum roll.
For those who remember what the working title is, it is Everyday Holiday.
Everyday Holiday. Yay!
So it's about exploring what baggage we carry around with us every day that stops us living a life as bright and as vitally as we do when we're on holidays. So it's helping us to just shed some of that weight that we don't need to be carrying around with us. So yeah, look forward to that.
Keep an eye
But the
out.
last weekend of July, I can't remember.
Yes, and if you come into the Discord community space, we'll be updating there and sharing further details, so you can be the first to know.
Yeah, and we might even share we can share that in the comments of this video. Put the details in there for you. Lots of love, and